My name is Lily Barkau. I graduated in 2004 from Mines with a Master of Science in Environmental Science and Engineering. My Bachelor of Science is in Geology from Wichita State University, and I received that in 1998. Currently, I'm the Groundwater Section Manager in the Water Quality Division of the Wyoming Department of Environmental Quality. Through the groundwater program, we protect and preserve Wyoming's groundwater resources through either permitting or investigation of contaminated sites. So then I direct the operational and the personal and planning functions of the section, making sure that that meets with the overall DEQ goals. I have a team of 13 geologists and environmental scientists who work in my section. We work on various projects related to groundwater quality, such as permitting for the underground injection control program, and these are our deep disposal wells and other type of wells. Very exciting for our most recent UIC well, class 6, which is geologic sequestration. We're currently setting that program up. We work on environmental restoration at formerly used defense sites and other legacy contaminated sites, and then conducting environmental investigations for oil and gas activities that may have impacted groundwater, other municipal or industrial activities, and then investigating emerging contaminants such as PFAS or those emerging forever chemicals that are out there. I also do a lot with monitoring legislation and drafting regulations and policies and guidance for these programs. And then, of course, working on various external work groups for the state, as well as national working groups, and then coordinating with other agencies, both state and federal, stakeholders, working with the public on any questions that they may have when it comes to environmental issues. Just so much of it's just so different every day. So while I work on a lot of the regulatory aspect, and we're not exactly viewed as, by the public of, well, the government's involved, what I do actually makes a difference at the end of the day. It's the working with the public, that human connection, the protection of the environment. Groundwater is just such a important resource, especially here in the West. As drought conditions, at least not this year, but in previous years and probably in the future, we'll continue to see those. So we'll need to rely more on the groundwater resources. And so it's just something that makes sense, and you can see from the reactions. It's different tensions, but at the end of the day, everyone has the same goal in mind, and it's the protection of our resources. It's a really great question because I kind of laugh about it. The other day, I was talking to a colleague, and it was about some of the conferences that I have coming up that I've been asked to participate in, and it was really one of those of how did I get here? How does this happen to someone like me? Because I think back when I was in grade school and having to give a speech on a presentation on volcanoes, and I got myself so worked up and so sick that I couldn't participate, and my parents had to call and excuse me from that presentation. And now I'm attending these national conferences, speaking in front of hundreds of people, and it's how did I get here? So when I started college, my dad was really adamant that groundwater was where this was at. Go into groundwater. He's a hydraulic engineer, pretty well respected in his field, and teased by his colleagues of, you're not going to let your daughter become a geologist, are you? That whole engineer versus geologist mind frame. And I was, no, I'm not doing groundwater. I'm going to go into volcanology or gold mining or something exciting. And I'm going to be like Indiana Jones and but you start down your path and you question. You're trying to find who you are, and you change your major so many different times. And I was really fortunate that I landed an internship, and it was with a small environmental consulting firm, and they taught me everything that really gave me a good foundation to start. Working with industry, working with the regulators, soil and groundwater sampling, and we did it all, and so it really helped. But even having that experience and going into my first job, you start from the bottom. You work hard, and so I did a lot of field work as a geologist, environmental, and then you have to kind of jump around to start that next step. Getting more into the report writing and the project management. And so I was fortunate enough to work for a consulting firm that gave me the flexibility to go and get my master's at the time. And so I took that opportunity. And Mines had the perfect program. They had their executive program strictly for those that worked, and it was Mines. I mean, the name really speaks for itself. As I would learn later. And I worked for that company for a little bit longer after graduation, and had the opportunity for a state job. Consulting, is long hours. You're gone a lot. You're on the road. My first year as a consultant, it was over 200 days on the road. So you can't really have a family and advance. So took a lot of those opportunities, went to the state, and even with the state, I started entry level. I worked my way up. I applied for a number of management positions, didn't receive them. Uh, but once it was my time, I got in with the groundwater section, took every opportunity that I can for training that they have, joining various groups, making those networking connections, both federally and within industry. Really trying to work collaboratively with people, just trying to see it from their side of things, and then getting this opportunity now, to be the manager, leading my team, fantastic team. I just couldn't ask for a better group of people to work with. And then just the various opportunities, becoming kind of that expert in the field it's been a journey. I've been with DEQ for 17 years now. Been in the industry for over 25. But if you want it, it's there. It's just the hard work, and definitely making those connections. Working, as an intern, my first boss was pretty well known in the oil and gas industry, and staying in touch with him for years. 25 some years later, some names pop up, that I was like, oh my gosh, Bruce introduced me to that person when they started out in their field, and now they're well recognized, and I need to reach out and make that connection again. My former boss who retired, as the water quality division administrator, he was just well known and would introduce me to, at these different conferences of, it was just amazing to see his connections and the relationships he's built, and now getting that opportunity to step in that role and introduce staff to a lot of these connections that I've made, and working together, and especially having we're setting a program right now where we're only one of two states that have received primacy from the Environmental Protection Agency to run this particular program that will deal quite a bit with climate change. And so we've really stood out. It's a small community, and working with industry or whoever, it's we've got a question, we can reach out and work with each other. They've got a question on regulatory aspects, I can present that, and I need to better understand this process on how it works, and I can reach out to them. And when there's a conference that wants to have a special type of speaker, they're like, oh, here's a connection, or I can say the same thing. So we're just we've become kind of like a really good community, or a family sense, in that we're able to answer those questions quickly, to really get these initiatives moving, to meet state and federal goals that are out there. So it's really important to reach out, or never burn those bridges. I know when I was first starting out, you get jaded and frustrated, because someone said something wrong to you, and you want to just lash out. But it's so important to realize that your paths can cross again, and they do. And those that you know have a different leadership style or a different way of doing things, they don't exactly fit into our community, and the teamwork, and they end up missing out on a lot of these important projects and being part of that bigger picture. With everything that's going on in the West, the past few years, as the drought has really moved forward, and our surface water sources have dried up, and looking for those other ways to help with climate initiatives, and then still realizing people have jobs, and there's lives out there, and trying to cut off energy resources. We've got to find a good balance to address those, for oil and gas and coal, and all of these important energy resources. And there's certainly ways, looking at alternative technologies, how that all works together, and while still maintaining the rules and we're protecting the environment. I mean, the rules aren't exactly black and white; they're very gray. My interpretation will be very different from someone else's interpretation, but overall, it's how do we work together? What's the keeping the end in mind? We want to leave something good or better for our future generations, and setting up those regulations and processes to better get that aligned for the future. And so all of the different initiatives that are coming out, trying to streamline permitting, which is often an obstacle for industry to get moving forward. Just working with them, how can we move these projects forward, and definitely having the engineers and the scientists ready to go, and not keeping them held up, by any kind of red tape. I think that's definitely the jobs that the regulators can look at, and then having that scientific and technical background certainly helps to move these things forward and better educate regulators, legislators, and the public. When it comes to working in these kind of jobs, it's ultimately you have to find something that you're interested in and that you can stand behind, with your principles and the ethics. Working hard in any job will certainly get you to where you ideally may want to be. But as you pointed out, there's a big difference between jobs and careers. And that was certainly advice that was given to me a long time ago, that it was, you really have to do something that you love. Because a job is something you go to every day. It puts a roof over your head and food on your table, but it's 9 to 5, um, or whatever the organization wants of you. A career is, you're growing, you're learning. I mean, I go to work every day, and I'm kind of weird this way, that it's like I've got this feeling in the pit of my stomach, that it's like I don't know if I'm going to be excited today, or that I just want to throw up today, because it's just changing and it's exciting. That I get to work with a great group of people. I get to work for a great organization that has the flexibility. Family is really important in our organization. We may not be able to compete financially to the large oil companies out there, but I have a good work life balance, which is important, and I can certainly make the career the most of it that I want to be. I really am to a point in my career where I want to become this national expert. And I've got the educational background from Mines that's really helped me to get there, and then the experience of working with everyone and in my career. And so I get to now move on to do something that I really enjoy beyond it. I mean, there's fire drills every day here at work, and it's just never the same. Um, so finding something that really drives you is important. And if you're entering the first day of school as a college freshman, uh, you you may know what you want to be on that day one. Probably day 20, you may change your mind. You may end up meeting that special boss, as an intern, that really shapes you and moves you in a different direction. So just be willing to have an open mind. Learn every day. There's so much to learn, whether you're 19 years old or 59 years old. It that there's just so much out there, and it's exciting.